Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2019 career mode. This is the US Grand Prix for the third to last race of the entire season. The championship is really tight now between Sebastian Vettel and the two Mercedes drivers of Hamilton and Bottas. But unfortunately for us, we have no upgrades coming in for this weekend. We're not in the championship fight either, so that was never going to be the case in this first season with Racing Point. But we have upgrades coming soon for Brazil, and hopefully we'll have even more just before the end of the season. But you can see we plateau, but Red Bull improved to be faster than Ferrari, and Haas improve heading into their home race to close the gap to us. So we'll need to watch out for them this weekend. They could be very quick, but it depends what type of car Circuit of the Americas favours. There's a lot of corners, but there is also two mega long straights. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what type of car will benefit, but we're still fourth on the chassis side, so very decent there, and still leading the aero department. So we've made some massive improvements. We were second last on the aero side at the beginning of the season. Obviously the performance patch did change that, but anyway, as we let's get into qualifying and see how it goes.
We're expecting qualifying to start any minute here in Austin, Texas, where drivers will be hoping to top the timesheets today and be ready for tomorrow's US Grand Prix. Looking at this field today, Anthony, do you think we're going to see anyone take a chance? Maybe run the hard tyres and save some of the grippier tyres for the race tomorrow?
Well, I'd be surprised in all honesty. It's only the front runners that really have the pace to get away with that. And even then, at the end of the day, it's a big risk. Track position is the most important thing, and it's rarely worth sacrificing for a slightly more optimal strategy in the race, so I doubt we're going to see anyone trying it. I have been wrong before though. We certainly do see some risky decisions every now and then, and it's a gamble that's sometimes worth taking. But if it were me in the car, I would want to be on the fastest tyre for my qualifying lap, without a doubt.
Alright, so Q1, basically a formality. We didn't set the greatest lap time, but we did manage to get through in P13, so only just about getting through there. But Robert Kubica, Antonio Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen, Danny Kvyat and Kevin Magnussen in the Renault last place. Disaster for him compared to Ricciardo, who is up in 11th place. But as we head into Q2, we'll see if we can improve on our time, because that time from Q1 will not get us through. As I said, we were down in 13th, so fairly neatly through the first two corners, but now into the S section, very difficult to get through here. I really do not get along well with these corners, and you can see I'm just struggling with getting the lines right through here, and especially just there, a big mistake that would have cost us a few tenths. So hopefully we'll be able to make that up throughout the rest of the lap. So now into the hairpin. Let's hope we can get a good run through here, and not quite using all the road on the exit. You could just about see there, so a bit of a mistake there too. And as we go along the straight, that bad exit will be costing us time all the way along here. Now into the hairpin at the other end of the straight, and again just not getting the line quite right through there. Now into my favourite part of the track. A part of the track I really do enjoy is this last section, and these corners probably not as tricky as they look, and definitely not as hard as the first and second sector. So through this triple right-hander, though, a bit of a mistake there, and that's cost us probably a lot of time. A bit slower through there than what I could have been, and on the wrong line through the first part of that corner, which has ruined the rest of this lap really. And as we cross the line, the lap is not going to be good enough, and we're going to qualify down in 11th place. So a little bit of a disaster for us in qualifying, but let's see if we can come back from it in the race. But you can see there the drivers that got through. Hamilton, the one with the pace at the moment. Sergio Perez, second place. Very solid for him. Vettel third, Bottas down in 7th. So a bit of a spread for the championship contenders. Very mixed up. Nico Hulkenberg ahead of Max Verstappen Hulkenberg been showing very, very good pace in that Red Bull. But along with us, there is George Russell, Lando Norris, Albon and Ricciardo knocked out in Q2.
Bad luck in qualifying. That's not exactly ideal. But there's no points for Saturday. Keep a cool head and make up for it in the race.
Not in that order. But anyway, let's get into the race, see what we can do.
In 2012, America's on-again, off-again love affair with Formula One finally seemed to settle down with the completion of this wonderful racing facility here in Texas. Since then, we've been treated to some incredible races, including, of course, that classic wet-dry championship decider of 2015. It's the Circuit of the Americas then, situated 14 miles outside the great city of Austin. This is the 3.6-mile lap with 20 corners, 10 each to the left and to the right, and top speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Overtaking opportunities are available into turns 1 and 12, especially with that rear wing DRS wide open. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. Now, we probably ought to start by discussing Sebastian Vettel. There's a real chance they could win the title today. So how do you think they'll handle the pressure?
Well, I try not to think about the result too much. The worst thing you can do in this situation is think about all the what-ifs. What if I get hit going into turn 1? What if I get a penalty? What if I finish outside the points? If you let any of those kind of worries get to you, you can't focus on the job. So staying in the right mindset will be critical today.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Devon Butler,
and Gasly.
The scientist, Weber. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Norris,
And George Russell.
Kubica, Hulkenberg, Daniel Kvyat,
And Perez. Raikkonen.
Verstappen, and Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, you can brake late into 1 because of the incline. It's a slow corner though, so make sure you stay out of trouble. Good luck.
I will keep that in mind, Jeff. Alright, so for the strategy, 2 sets of softs to the mediums, or 3 sets of softs to the mediums. I don't really like the look of either of those strategies. We'll have a look at soft to 2 sets of mediums. That is my preferred strategy for most Grand Prix, but we'll see. Just experimenting, you can see, with all the different options. See what we can get away with, but for now I think we'll just go with the default, or with my default, 2 softs, 2 mediums at the end, 1 soft at the start. What am I even saying? You can see what we're doing on the screen. Soft to 2 sets of mediums. We'll go with that and see what we can achieve in this race. I don't like the soft tyres in this game. I feel like they just overheat too much, but we'll see how the first stint goes. If the soft tyres are good, we'll continue on those. If not, we'll switch to the mediums at some point early. But anyway, we get underway for the formation lap. We've been elevated a few positions.
Okay, our system checks are good. We need to stay in formation and start bringing the car up to temperature, please. Get some load into the tyres and work the brakes. We want them nice and warm by the end of the lap.
Got the 2 Hasses up ahead.
The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights.
None of them with their original drivers, Gasly and Butler, an odd lineup for Haas. But anyway, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the US Grand Prix. It's a great start versus the Hasses. We try to go to the middle. They quickly cover that, so we're going to go to the outside. Late braking around the outside of the Hasses, around the outside of the Ferrari. We're not going to get that position though, off of Sebastian Vettel, that is. But Charles Leclerc has gone missing somewhere amongst all of that. We overtook him. I didn't see him, but mistake there through the S section already, and hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. But we managed to hold the position without getting a track limits warning. No time really gained or lost through that, so
We're looking good from the start.
that is fair enough. Thanks, Jeff, for that radio message. But yeah, we somehow jumped Charles Leclerc at the start of this one. A mistake though there at the hairpin, trying to run at the same pace as the championship contenders at the start, but not able to get through that corner as quickly as they do, and we're under massive pressure from Pierre Gasly behind, and he is going to go down the inside, and he might just get that done. We're not going to fight it too hard. We've got our own race to run, but if we get another opportunity, we will certainly take it. So already dropping positions in this one, but we move on, and now we've got Charles Leclerc behind us, and we run deep into the hairpin once again, and Leclerc gets through. So a few mistakes at that corner in the early stages, but we've got to run back on Charles Leclerc, and no DRS yet at this point of the race. It's just pure straight line speed. It seems like we are okay, but Leclerc comes back along the straight. We're going to back out because Devin Butler was down the inside as well, and now Lucas Weber on the inside. So cars going everywhere at this point of the race, but we make a little bit of contact there with the McLaren, but we managed to hold the position. Meanwhile, Devin Butler and Leclerc still side by side, and Devin Butler is actually going to get that position. So it's a great race for Haas so far. Their cars doing quite well, but there's the contact with Devin Butler. We're on board with Lando Norris as the McLarens now fight side by side, and Lucas Weber is going to just about hold on the inside line there. Sergio Perez watching on, waiting for any opportunity he can. He's obviously taking a grid penalty in this one. One of the 4 cars ahead of us on the grid that took penalties elevated us from 11th to 7th on the grid, which is quite insane. But the fight is not over. Here comes Lucas Weber, and he goes blazing past. We're on the inside though this time. We're going to hold him off on the inside, knock over the bollard there, as we're very aggressive over the inside curb, and we managed to hold the position. Missed the apex there though, but I think we should just about be able to hold on the inside line here, cover it off, and again missing the apex there. So a lot of mistakes creeping in early on in this race. We haven't even made it to the first pit stop, but I just look to be really out of sync with the car and the track at the moment. I just can't get into a rhythm. I'm constantly being under attack by the other cars. I don't want to just let them past. There's a big queue right behind me, so it is very tough to drive at this point. But a lock up there from Charles Leclerc as he tries to go down the inside of Devin Butler, but just about gets away with it. They're side by side as they head into the third sector. Leclerc around the outside. Butler was able to pull this move off from that same position. Leclerc on the inside. Can he get the move done on Devin Butler? Just about there, but that's taken a long time to get that move done for Charles Leclerc, and he will not be very happy with the Haas drivers for holding him up for so long. He's still got Gasly up ahead to deal with, but can we make a move on Devin Butler now that he's a little bit out of sync? We're finally getting into a little bit of a rhythm here, but look at the straight line speed difference from that Haas car. He's just flying away on the straights, where we kind of seem to struggle coming out of corners. But we go on board with Leclerc as he gives one of the Haas cars there a bump, and he's going down the inside, but it's got damage to his front wing. So that is a bit of a mistake there from Leclerc, and yeah, that is a major issue. But I'm not sure which of the Haas cars that was.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
On that occasion.
We'll receive you at the end of this lap.
But we're going to go onto the mediums. We're actually going to pit even earlier, because if Leclerc has damage, he's going to be holding up this entire queue, and I don't want to be stuck in it. So this is a mechanical failure for Lucas Weber, and that is an unfortunate end to the McLaren rookies race, and he pulls off to the edge of the road, retires from his first American Grand Prix. But we move on to the end of the lap for us, and you can see the tyres are absolutely melting. They've got nothing left to give in terms of temperature. They are just not having a good time.
Affirmative. Medium tyres at the next stop.
And yeah, we're just confirming that we are going onto the medium tyres, just to make sure that there are no miscommunications there. I do not like these soft tyres at this point, so we're going to box. No one ahead of us is, so we should get a nice undercut on those that we're racing against. Into the pits we go, and we will get a new set of tyres on, get the undercut, see what we can do to try to salvage something from this race. This is a damage limitation race.
Exit now.
We don't really have too much to fight for in the Drivers' Championship. The Teams' Championship
Okay, you only have to stop once now. One stop left.
is the main focus for us, beating Red Bull, but even in that, due to the performances of Gasly at the start of the season, even Verstappen hasn't been doing too much impressive in that Red Bull car. I could be wrong, but I believe they are yet to win a race this season, something that we have done as a team. Sergio Perez winning the Italian Grand Prix,
Gap to teammate ahead is 14.1 seconds.
and being very, very consistent over the season, and he is very close to Verstappen's points haul overall, but hopefully he'll be able to overtake him and complete the 5-6 that we have, or that we are aiming for in the championship. But as we move on, you can see very close there behind the Williams car of George Russell, not able to make the move there. And you can see a side-by-side with Hulkenberg. Can we go to the outside, down the outside of Russell and Hulkenberg? Can we make the move around the outside of Hulkenberg? We can. Russell, though, with a really nice mid-corner there. And he manages to get that position and remain ahead of us. But as we head on to the main straight, we're going to get the DRS. Russell defends. We go to the outside, around the outside of George Russell. Can we do it here? Not quite. Going to back out of it, switch back, and see if we can go around the outside of turn 2. This will be a brave move. But that Williams car, not the fastest mid-corner, and he got a pretty bad exit out of turn 1. So we managed to get that move done fairly easily there on George Russell. But great racing there with the young Brit nonetheless. So the race seems to be coming back to us on these medium tyres. We seem to have decent pace. Obviously we're overtaking cars that are yet to stop at this point. But the race at this point is a bit of a mess. I have no idea what's going on with strategy. I can tell you now there are cars on 2 stops, cars on 3 stops, and just using different tyre compounds at different times. It's hard to keep up with when I was in the race, let alone commentating it. But the car behind us now.
Is ahead of you. They're on old softs. Their tyres are 17 laps old. We think they've got 2 stops remaining. The time last lap was a 1 minute 43.5. We're gaining by around 4 seconds per lap.
The car behind us now, Pierre Gasly, setting the fastest lap. So Haas are absolutely on fire today, and they are looking really solid to really good for a solid result, I should say. So it'll be interesting to see where they end up by the end of the race. But yeah, Gasly,
The gap to the car ahead is 5.2 seconds.
with the pace to set the fastest lap there.
We're in P4. Bottas is ahead of you. Our gap to the car in front is 14.5 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Gasly is behind you. The gap behind us is 1.9 seconds. They're on fresh softs. The gap to the leader is 31.9 seconds. Your pit window opens in 16 laps time. 38 laps to go.
So while all that's happened, here's the battle for the lead, I should say. The Hamilton down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas waiting for an opportunity, but Hamilton takes the race lead from Sebastian Vettel. Bottas in third. This is
Just so you know, we're getting some strange readings from a couple of the sensors. I don't think you need to be worried. It's just some bad data, so keep doing what you're doing, and I'll let you know if we notice any genuine problems.
okay. That's an issue. We may have some minor electrical issues with the car. Hopefully that doesn't eventuate into something more serious. But I have not ever heard that radio message before. But I do find that quite interesting that Codemasters put those little random messages into the game that really, I don't know, it's a little minor detail that I think is really cool. So nice one there, Codemasters. I do appreciate that, but not in the context of this race. I don't appreciate it. We now have some issues. I was checking through all the data that you can see on the MFD. None of that looked too out of whack, so obviously not any data that I can see is what's being affected. But Sebastian Vettel coming back at Lewis Hamilton now down the inside into the hairpin. Hamilton though just holding on the inside there, but the battle for the lead rages on throughout this race, and Hamilton able to hold on this occasion. But Gasly down the inside and takes that position. We initially got it back, and we might get it back again round the outside.
The gap to the car ahead is 18.5 seconds.
And we do get it back. To finish what I was saying a second ago, we actually did pass a whole bunch of cars with the undercut getting up to P4, as you would have seen. But now we are under pressure from all of those cars. Both of the Haas's and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen coming on strong at this point in the race. 3 wide heading into the hairpin. I'm deciding just to back out of this one. Gasly and Verstappen, former teammates, fighting it out up ahead. Gasly around the outside, Verstappen on the inside, and Verstappen is going to get that position just ahead of his ex-teammate now, who has now moved to Haas, who has replaced Hulkenberg, who's now at Red Bull. I don't know why I'm running through driver transfers now, but that is what happened there, if you haven't been keeping up with my series. But we are right behind Gasly now. Can we make a comeback move to the inside? He looks a little bit slow through the final corner, so can we make a move along the main straight? DRS for both of us, so it'll be just down to the extra slipstream. Verstappen already clearing a long way ahead. Left, right for us, down the outside into the first corner. Can we get a switchback heading towards turn 2? We'll be put on the wrong side of the road, and we just don't quite get the run on the exit to make that move. And as we move on, Devon Butler is the one attacking us. We're very deep into the hairpin at the end of the long straight, and we are now defending from from Devon Butler into the third sector, but we are able to hold him off there and keep our position. 6th place for us, 7th for Devon Butler. But we move on, and we managed to drop Devon Butler. I'm not sure where he's gone, but he left us alone after a while. Charles Leclerc is now the car behind us. Gasly up ahead is in the pit lane, so reacting to that, we're going to pit right behind him, and we don't want to let anyone get an undercut on us. So we're going to box this lap and just stick to the same strategy. We didn't have to pit for quite a long time, but these people seem to be making their last stops relatively early. So I'm not sure what the deal is there, but yeah, that is what's happened.
Clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
At this point of the race, Devon Butler is right there in front of us, and he's on the soft tyre, so he's got to make another stop, but he's jumped us in this phase of pit stops. That's where he went. I thought we might have just dropped him a bit, but he actually made a pit stop there. Anyway, we've dropped behind Butler, but yeah, if he is stopping again, so long as we stay within 20 seconds or so, we should still be pretty safe to stay ahead by the end of the race. Obviously he will have the fresh tyres to fight back, but we move on. We've got a McLaren of Lando Norris and the Red Bull fighting side by side, 3 wide into this hairpin once again, but we don't manage to hold any of them off. We just back out of it. I don't fancy going 3 wide into that corner, and we let those two do their thing and just focus on our own race. They seem to be faster at this point.
Let's turn up the ERS deployment and burn some of this energy.
And ERS, as ever, very difficult to manage. I'm looking forward to when we can get some upgrades on that next season. Next time I do a career mode, I feel like I might choose a team where I can focus on the engine first, but that didn't really make too much sense to do with Racing Point starting with the best engine anyway. So anyway, with all of that, we are now in 10th position with Charles Leclerc behind us, and I think he has made his final stop. I feel like everyone is going to finish the race on medium tyres, so we're going to have to watch out for the cars on medium tyres. They will be the ones for genuine position, and Charles Leclerc blazes straight past there. Nothing we could do there. We're going to try aggressive move around the outside into the hairpin, but we just can't carry the same speed as Charles Leclerc through there, and he maintains that position ahead of us. So we've been dropped out of the points, but there are still more cars ahead of us that need to pit. I didn't realise this at the time. I didn't realise that the Haas's went onto the soft tyres and had to pit again, as well as a whole bunch of other cars are on very, very unusual strategies. I feel like my strategy, at least for me, is the fastest way to get to the end of the race. But not so for some of the AI. And as we run wide through the final corner, you can see passing more and more cars. In pit lane, we move our way up into P9. Kimi Raikkonen is the car behind us at the moment, but we'll have to see.
Reduce ERS deployment.
I have absolutely no idea who we're genuinely fighting in this race, so yeah, it's just very confusing. I'm just trying to run the fastest race that I can and hope that it's enough in the end. I have no idea what positions to fight for, what positions just to let go. So yeah, I'm just doing my best to try to finish this race as quickly as possible, and hope that it's enough to stay in the points, because
you are currently 2 places above our objective, 2 places ahead of our objective. Good job.
yeah, with our last stop made though, that does simplify things a little bit, and since we're 2 places ahead of our objective, we do have
Hulkenberg is stopping now.
a bit of breathing space, and you can just hear there, like, Hulkenberg stopping again very, very late in this race with only 11 laps to go. There is not a lot of time on those medium tyres at the end. He's spent the whole race on soft tyres so far, and his soft tyre stints have been longer than what his medium tyre stint will be. So very weird strategies going on all over the place. But we've got pressure from behind from Kimi Raikkonen, and he finds his way past down the inside into the hairpin. We're not going to fight that. He is on the soft tyres, so he has another stop to make even later than Nico Hulkenberg's. So he's just, I don't know, the strategies are just so confusing in this one. But whatever works for them, I guess. But yeah, it was really messing with my head as I was actually racing in this one, why Kimi Raikkonen was so far up the field. The Alfa Romeo car not particularly fast as we're battling away with him, and that is why, because he still has another stop to make. We've actually made the same number of stops so far. So it's really strategy that's saving us in this one, making one less stop than a lot of the AI, because a bit of a contact there with Raikkonen on the exit as we're continuing to battle away. But yeah, it's really strategy saving us, as I was just saying, because yeah, this hasn't really been the most consistent race for me, and there's been a lot of mistakes, which has cost a lot of time. But as we continue to battle away with Kimi Raikkonen costing us also a lot of time, I just at this point I didn't know who I was racing, so I was fighting every single car for position just in case. You know, I don't know who started on medium tyres, if anyone did. I think it turns out no one did. I think everyone started on the softs, but I didn't know that at the time, so I was fighting every single car for position. But yeah, as it turns out, Kimi Raikkonen, as you'll just see here, makes another pit stop with barely anything left of this race. He might as well just save those tyres for Brazil, because they will last until then anyway. But running wide there through the first corner, and Nico Hulkenberg coming through on his new medium tyres, trying to make the move there. But we make a very silly mistake there, just completely bail out of the corner, because I was on completely the wrong line, and I knew that wasn't going to end very well. And we'll just let Nico Hulkenberg fly straight past us, and we get back to focusing on our own race there. Very bad mistake there, but these things happen at a track like this for me. But we're going to come back at Nico Hulkenberg into the first corner around the outside. Can we hold it there? Hulkenberg in the Red Bull, going to have good mid-corner speed with the better chassis, and we just can't quite hold it around the outside. We're out over the curb, and that runs us wide. But we get a good run through turn 2 a lap later, around the outside to the inside outside, and we get through on Nico Hulkenberg through the first sector. That was a wild move, but unfortunately for us, the DRS, as Hulkenberg demonstrates, is the much easier way to get that position. But a lap later, we're going to learn from that, use the DRS, and pull up alongside Nico Hulkenberg. Can we outbrake him into this corner? The brakes from that Red Bull, as we've seen in the past, are pretty good, and you can see there again, very late on the brakes is Nico Hulkenberg. but we managed to get that position, squeeze him out
Gap to the car in front is 15.6 seconds.
to the point where Sergio Perez has got that position as well. So really opportunistic there by Sergio to get that position ahead of our rival team in Red Bull, and any points that Perez can get will help him out with trying to get that 6th place in the championship versus Max Verstappen, who is further up the road in this one. We try to come back at Sergio Perez, a little bit of a bump there on the front wing, very lucky not to cause any damage, and we're trying to go around the outside, another bump there with Sergio Perez. So 2 very lucky escapes there not to get damage to our front wing at the end of this race, but we just couldn't find a way past. But we're weaving all over the road, seeing if we can just get in the mirrors. We're going to go down the outside of Sergio Perez into the hairpin and try to retake this position, and we do so around the outside, and we move our way back up into a higher position of 7th place. Sergio Perez back down into 8th position, but I don't think this fight is anywhere near over at this point. Devon Butler watching on as well. He will be looking for any opportunity that he can to score some extra points. But Lewis Hamilton is your race winner for the American Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel crosses the line for 2nd place. Valtteri Bottas will bring it home for 3rd. But a 1-3 for Mercedes, double podium to try to secure their lead in the Constructors' Championship. But the race is not over for us. We're all the way back here at the start of the back straight. Sergio Perez putting the pressure on with the DRS open. It's going to go to the outside and fly straight past there. Nothing we can do. Devon Butler though with the DRS as well. He's going to go to the inside. We're very late on the brakes, almost running into the back of Perez. Very deep, missing that corner completely. Perez manages to navigate and hold his position, but we're on the inside of Butler. He turns in on us, damage to our front wing, and we're going to try and race him around the outside. That's not going to work for us, so I decided to switch to the inside, send it down the inside, and barge him out of the way. He doesn't leave any space, but we make it there and get that position. We've got serious damage to the front wing. We just have to try to block off Devon for these last 2 corners. He had a little look to the inside, but decided against going down the inside of the penultimate corner. And now the final corner, covering off the inside again. He's not going to go for it there. Park it on the apex and accelerate out of the corner. We're going to cross the line ahead of Devon Butler for
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
8th position in this one. A very tricky ending to that one.
Yes, another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team. And they certainly deserve it.
So Lewis Hamilton with the race win. Sebastian Vettel keeping his title hopes alive with a 2nd place. Valtteri Bottas being ever consistent up on the podium and keeping himself just within the range of taking the fight to the top 2 if any troubles emerge for them.
Now let's take a look at the driver's standings. Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. Now let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Often my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
I sure will. So yeah, a bit of a scrappy ending to the race there, but that's how it goes sometimes. Really wanted to beat Devon Butler after he turned in on us going into the final sector of the race. But let's have a look at these highlights, see what happened to Charles Leclerc at the first corner where he lost all the time. He got a bit of a squeeze to the inside by Vettel and got sandwiched in between the Hasses as we went round the outside 4 wide into the first corner. And Leclerc just not able to get ahead of the Hasses after that 4 wide moment there, getting sandwiched in between, understandably wanting to just get through the first corner with no heroics at that point. So that clears that up where he went at the start of the race, where he lost the positions. So other than that though, he did manage to recover somewhat in that one to I think 5th place. But unfortunately for us, Max Verstappen a long way ahead of both myself and Perez. Perez not showing the same pace in the race as he did in qualifying. The grid penalty would have something to do with that for him, and a decent recovery nonetheless. He still managed to beat me right at the end there, and that is with an extra stop for Perez as well. So strategy throughout this race gave me an absolute headache, and I had no idea what was going on at any point. But we managed to come away with a half decent result. P8, not great, probably one of our worst results since I think Spain. Wasn't too fancy. That was the race we started from the back of the field, managed to drive to 10th place in that one, and you can see there the battle with our teammate and the couple of little bumps we had with Sergio Perez, but thankfully not getting damage just there. The damage came with this little battle with Devon Butler really sending it there and pushing him right out to the edge of the curb and the track limits there. But I think that was just about okay, but a scrappy ending unfortunately.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. It's looking like the championship is already won. Do you think there's still time for this to change?
I'm not really in the championship fight, but there's always time for it to change, and I'm looking forward to see how it plays out.
Your former teammate had a rough time out there and wasn't able to finish. That's got to be frustrating for him.
Yeah, he'll be really frustrated, but I'm sure he'll bounce back from it. It was a mechanical issue, it was nothing he did wrong.
That was a pretty close finish with your old F2 rival. You two are pretty competitive, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit too competitive today. He decided to turn in on me going into the last sector, so I decided to give him a little bump back, but I think it was hard racing in the end.
So talk us through what happened between you and your rival today.
Yeah, he managed to just about beat me there at the end of the race there, did my teammate, but he needs the championship points more than I do.
Great, well that's everything.
Thanks, Claire. That sounded a little bit cheeky actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, it's what's said and done now. Luckily Sergio Perez probably won't watch this video. That would be something crazy. Anyway, we get a bunch of resource points for
Great work. That's exactly the kind of result I'm looking for. Keep it up.
the bonus there, and we'll have some more upgrades coming for Brazil. So I think we will definitely keep working away at the chassis side of things. We have a weight redistribution upgrade, that minor upgrade at the bottom there, that we can do there. So that should come in for Brazil. We've got all the quality control upgrades, so we shouldn't have any failures on the chassis side of things. And other than that, I'm not really too sure what to work on. Our aero is good. We're already best there, so there's not really much point working on that when we have more room to improve on the other areas. So I decided to just invest in next season and work on the efficiency and quality control, the quality control rather, of the engine department, and also I decided to just go for rear downforce, keep the car nice and stable in future, and it's only minor upgrades, so that will come in for Brazil as well, and that should really give us a nice stable car for Brazil. A lot of corners around that circuit, and we have a lot of upgrades coming for then, 2 to the chassis side and 1 to the aero side. But I'll see you then. Goodbye. Nailed it.